Okay, so I have a story for you guys that I heard from one of my clients last week. It's kind of cool. He's an older gentleman. He's a psychiatrist. He's in, I don't know, late 50s, early 60s. And he came in and saw me a couple months ago because he needed a suit for a wedding in Nantucket. Now, like most men in their late 50s, early 60s, he's done well for himself, but he's not particularly well dressed. There's something about the baby boomer generation that the men just decided that style was not something that mattered to them. And this wedding was kind of a big deal. It was with a lot of important people, and it was something that he was a little bit nervous to attend, so we wanted to make sure that he had upped his style game. So he came in and saw me. We did a suit for him, and ended up taking it, and comes back to see me a couple months later, just this last week, and tells me that basically what happened is it was this whole fiasco for them trying to get in there. Issues with the flight, issues with the hotel. Long story short, they end up walking into the church like a couple minutes after the wedding has started. Nothing they could do to get around it. I mean, they're just late. So everybody's there in all their rows and they're seated, and thankfully it's not to the point where like the bride is walking down the aisle or anything like that, but they're supposed to be in their seats. And so they come in through these big wide double doors in the back of the church, and everybody turns around, and he and his wife have to make this entrance. Totally unplanned, totally undesirable, but they have to make this entrance. And so they end up walking in and walking down the aisle so that they can get to their seats, and he has all these eyes that are on him, and then he sees his nephews, who are younger guys in their late 20s, early 30s, and they kind of turn around, and one of them looks at him and says, "Look at you, James Bond." And he said that rather than being self-conscious about it at that point, he got a little bit of swagger going. He felt really good about making this entrance. So the point of this is that at some point in your life, you will find yourself in a position where attention will be drawn to you. You can do everything right, but there will be points in your life where unwanted attention will be on you. It can be something as simple as, you know, his event. It can be something like, I don't know, having to be on the news because you've witnessed some sort of a crime or something else. Really what it comes down to, though, is at some point people will pay attention to you when you're least expecting it or when you least want it to. You're going to make an entrance. If you're going to make an entrance, you might as well have it be a very good and a very positive entrance. The way that everybody reacted to him would have been completely different if he had come in wearing one of his older, schlubbier suits that doesn't really fit him particularly well. So I'm not saying that you have to be hyper vigilant about your clothing all the time, but it's one of those things that you need to see it as, I don't know, almost like a seatbelt, where you hope you never have to use it, but it's there for a reason, just in case. And there are plenty of times where you go throughout your day and you don't really interact with people who you're not normally interacting with, and so it's not that big of a deal if you're dressed particularly well. But at some point, you're going to have to interact with somebody, and it matters how you look, and so you might as well have it in your back pocket that you look great, because those forced interactions can either be positive or negative, and you want them to be positive. So just keep that in mind for the next time you think, it doesn't really matter, I'm not planning on seeing anybody today. You really have no idea what's going to come up, and you want your clothes to always, 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 always work to your advantage.